So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to this webinar session. I'm Tony Schönenberger. I'm the Executive Chairman of STARS. And STARS, as you know, is a platform for dialogue to discuss developments which will impact our society as a whole, but particularly our companies in the next couple of years. In this context, I'm pleased to inform you that STARS is right in the middle of preparing two symposia, one in Singapore in the middle of the year and one in Switzerland in September of this year. And at the same time, we're also preparing two alumni study tours, one to Croatia and one to China. Please visit our website for further information. Today, we are continuing our webinar series on the circular economy, a must for business leaders. And no doubt you will certainly agree with me, this topic is extremely important for our businesses and the society as a whole. Today we have the great privilege to talk to Beatriz Luz. Beatriz is the founder of Exchange for Change Brazil, based in São Paulo, Brazil. This organization brings the circular economy discussion to Latin America and Brazil. So thank you very much for joining this webinar. Beatriz, we are very much looking forward to your insights. I want to introduce you now to our moderator, Gordana Kierans. Gordana is the managing partner of her consulting company in Croatia. She is supervisory board member of Circular Economy, and she's also the president of the STARS Southeast Europe alumni chapter. Gordana designed this important series of 8 webinars on sustainability and the circular economy, and she's also moderating all these sessions. Gordana, once more, thank you very much. We are very much looking forward to this webinar. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning from Lake Louise, Alberta, Canada, and good afternoon, good evening where you are. And of course, a warm welcome to our speaker, Beatriz. A pleasure to talk to you again.
It's an honor to be here and in this Circular Stars webinar. Happy to chat and learn a lot from all of you as well.
That's a very good hint, Beatriz, an invitation to our audience, of course, to ask questions. You are welcome to do so at any time. I have here in the front of me the Q&A window, and we'll see your questions and read them to Beatriz. So please join us in this discussion. In the meantime, Bea, I will start with my first question. You and I have been pushing for change for 10 years now, for circular change, systemic change. How has it been for you in Brazil?
Wow, that's a very good question. I often say that my life is like a roller coaster. Sometimes I am in the top of the roller coaster, you know, very excited and thinking that we are moving forward in the right direction. And sometimes we fell down and then we have to stop and reflect, listen to the markets and then start again. But I feel that in the last 10 years, the discussion has become more mature, probably because now we have more information, more knowledge, more data on the good cases, demonstrating the benefits of moving towards circularity. All the impact of climate change is also, you know, facing our realities more and more often. So I think now is a good time to gather with other experts and feel on the top of the roller coaster.
Oh, wow. Yeah, certainly. It's, I completely agree. Sometimes it's really, we are on a high and the next moment news come that are not so supportive. But yes, we got a lot of data in circular economy, as you rightfully said, is all about business and about economy and economic benefits. So the discussion moved from just nice to have to actually seeing benefits and value. You did some amazing projects, the first Brazilian LCA network, the first industrial symbiosis, the first publication, circular publication in Portuguese, and so on. The list is quite long. So what have you learned, and where did you need to adapt during that process?
I think the key message, Gordana, is that we must learn how to be good listeners and understand the audience, understand the moment, not only the person that you're talking with, but the moment of the company, the moment of the market. It can change a lot depending on which part of the value chain that you're talking about, which sector. So I think when we are trying to bring something that is new to the market, it takes time for people to pick up, to understand. So you must be very persistent, resilient, and learn how to talk to each individual. What is the trigger? What is going to move them one step further? And I suppose once you learn and start talking to so many people, you start to develop ability to connect the information. Another important message, I guess, is that sometimes it can be a lonely journey, but the more you connect with other people, especially people that can complement your abilities, gather a multidisciplinary team, it really helps to create a positive and full message to the audience.
Yeah, that resonates so much with me. I remember after Brussels, traveling the world and teaching the circular economy, and people asking what's leadership got to do with circular economy. I mean, our leadership training. So yes, I completely agree with what you're saying. I experienced something similar. Let's talk about the bigger Brazilian picture. In just over 2 weeks, you'll be hosting the Circular Economy event. The World Circular Economy Forum is coming to your city, São Paulo, for the very first time in Brazil. What has the government in the last decade, since you have been pushing for systemic change, done in order to be the rightful host of this major event?
Yeah, I think this is an important message. We started talking about the business and how to bring the message to the business and present circular economy as an opportunity for competitive advantage and developing new products and service. But it's really essential that the government is on board, that we have a national vision, guidelines and directives, because otherwise the industry just gets stuck and wait for the right policies to be in place, both in the sense of incentives, in the sense of penalties. So when I started 10 years ago, it was very much a discussion happening around the innovation agencies, international companies that were very well connected with the international markets. I got involved right from the beginning on the ISO discussion, which is also something that brings like a base for the industry to understand the direction. And the government, luckily in 2023, they launched a new vision for the new industry in Brazil, and they started to incorporate circular economy principles into the new industry plan. And And so we started to see the whole country getting the interest, getting more involved. And the landmark was last year when the government launched a national strategy for circular economy. So this has been very positive because it has given the market a direction. The strategy has 5 dimensions. So there is a dimension on education, how to create new abilities and values for the workforce, how we qualify the workforce. There is a dimension on product design. There is a dimension on finance and on cities. So this has created a positive moment, and they're planning to launch a circular economy action plan for the next 10 years. So we're going to have a robust message for the markets right at the World Circular Economy Forum. So we are all very excited and waiting for that. I've been invited to join an expert group. They created an expert group to help designing the action plan. So we will do our best to make all the guidelines and everything that is on paper to move to action, because that's the next stage and the next challenge that we're going to have.
Yeah, certainly. It's really a pity that I won't be able to join you this time. I love the World Circular Economy Forum. It helps me recharge the circular batteries. But I will be in Barcelona, so it's really a pity. You mentioned the strategy that also includes financing. So how much did the government actually allocate in terms of financing to circular economy? I believe we can always see how serious the government is according to the amount of money that is willing to allocate for this transition. So how is it with Brazil?
I think now is the moment to really understand the level of funding that we need. The strategy has a lot of directions for studies, for roadmaps, for creating incentives for industries, but they haven't come up with a direct circular economy budget yet. So we are hoping that something will be announced shortly. And I guess the key message is that we as practitioners and people on the ground, now is the moment for us to present to the government what the market needs, what kind of support we need. And I think we need a lot of we should focus on getting the data, getting the companies on board, creating the suitable ecosystem, because it's not just about creating a plan, putting targets, saying that they are going to invest X amount if the companies are not ready, if the society is not ready. So I think we need first to focus on awareness raising campaigns and kind of hubs that will gather companies, sector specific movements. We're seeing more and more the sector associations getting on board. So that's really good. And we hope that the World Circular Economy Forum will bring this extra push, this extra kind of power in the momentum, creating a positive momentum, that it's really a global discussion, and Brazil has to be on board, and there's a lot of opportunities there for us.
Very good. I will come to Brazil in just a moment with another question. And we have a question from the audience, from Peter Riedel. This one is about sharing economy.
Okay.
In this particular case, the example is about yacht owners who can share their mooring spaces in harbors. And the question is, do you have any experience with governments and administrations and their support to sharing economy initiatives in Brazil?
Boat Park digital platform. Actually, I've seen recently a a startup similar to that here in Brazil, sharing boats and harbor space. I think the sharing economy in Brazil started with mobility. I think we have a lot on textiles as well, like places that you can rent clothes for parties. I think the culture of the sharing economy is starting in a few sectors, because Brazil is still a country that perhaps value a lot the point of having, possessing, cars. I have a car, I have a house, but I think slowly we are seeing that there are opportunities for other business models for you to still. I, for example, I don't have a car. I live very well just using public transport and bicycles everywhere. But it depends on the city. Brazil is a huge country with different realities, geographical realities. But on this kind of high-level markets, I think maybe if you put together something that provide a good experience, the people will get on board.
Yeah, that's crucial. Exactly, the good experience. We are seeing that in Europe, for example, where we would like people to use trains more, but there are so many delays lately, and that of course doesn't help the switch. But back to Brazil. Brazil is also known as a major mining nation. Iron, of course, comes to one's mind, but there's more mining. At the same time, the circular economy is actually about preserving materials, preserving secondary materials. And the whole process might seem at odds with the Brazilian economy, or the major push within the Brazilian economy. So how is the government walking that tightrope to still support the mining and the virgin materials, because it's still the major income, versus preserving secondary materials? Is it me, or is it your screen frozen? Here we go. Beatriz, you were frozen for a moment. Did you hear my question?
Yes, I'm back. You were starting to talk about the mining?
Exactly, the question about mining, exactly. The tightrope that the government has to walk in preserving the secondary materials and not killing its cash cow, still the mining industry. So how is that happening?
Well, we are talking with some mining companies and steel manufacturers. I think they are now starting to realize the need for creating a more robust governance in the market, especially when you talk about co-products. If we want to use and be more positive about the secondary markets, we really need the whole kind of ecosystem to be on board. The environmental body has to understand the positive results of using these secondary materials, because there is some guidelines and public policies that have to be in place to allow these materials to be used in another process. We have been working, demonstrating that we need to bring different sectors together to discuss, because if we want to use, for example, the products of a steel company into the agriculture sector or the construction sector or ceramic sector, we need to bring this other sector on board. So there's a lot of education and awareness raising that has to be in place. So this is one side of the discussion that I think I've seen they being more open to talk to other markets, because from a long time, the companies wanted to do everything among the closed doors, you know, within four walls. And this doesn't work, because you only see the results and you only gather the data from one part of the value chain. If we want to create a secondary market, reverse logistics, supply chain, we really need to bring different parts of the value chain together. We are going to see a lot of discussion in the World Circular Economy Forum about circular mining, critical materials, and I think we hope that we will have more information in place to create a very effective global discussion.
Very interesting. Bea, we have another question from Frederick Horst Luz. Do you think the consumer has a very important role in this new paradigm, new way of producing, of the circular economy? Consumers?
Yes, certainly. The consumers are the one they are making the decision of which products to buy and where to place the packaging and the products at the end of the life cycle. So we've been discussing a lot about the role of communication in education. I think we've spoken about that earlier on as well. So there are different levels of communication that has to be put in place. You know, the communication between industry and the government, internally within all the departments, especially in big companies. We've seen circular economy advancing in one department, but not in the other department. So it gets stuck into just a project-based discussion and not a business-based discussion. And also it's very important that the market understands, the society understand the value of these new products, this new experience. So we are focusing a lot on providing new brochures and guidelines and material directed to the society in general, so they can be more inspired to really push forward with this movement as well.
Yeah, we our last conversation we discussed. I'll come to education in the communication in just a moment. We talked about how important it is for the audience to understand the benefits, and that we see the benefits in secondary materials. I mean, if we had in our mind, in front of our eyes, every time when we see a plastic bottle that is petrol, would we actually throw it away as easily as we do right now, if you understood the original virgin material behind it? You mentioned also reverse logistics, and of course for goods and services, or for secondary materials to be moving back to where they belong, we need infrastructure. So what has Brazil been doing in terms of improving the infrastructure so that we actually can realize reverse logistics?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of actions that must be in place. Having the infrastructure means having the funding and the finance to build all this infrastructure. And having the finance means having the demand and the business pushing forward and demanding this kind of well-connected structure so they can power the circular economy. And obviously having the market pool So the business really buying this secondary materials, not just setting the targets and still looking for the secondary material to be at the same place or even cheaper than the virgin material. So there is a combination of factors that must be in place. One thing that the government is supporting a lot now is creating funds to support the beginning of the value chain. So the cooperatives, the people they are there collecting the materials, they must be educated, they must have the machines to do it, they must be well connected with the recyclers, for example, to be able to create a constant flow of materials. So this is something that is has happened in the last few months. But unfortunately, another thing that is happening at the same time is some legislations, they are allowing waste materials to get into Brazil. So there's a huge discussion, in the last few days. So this is something very new. And I guess it's the result of the lack of infrastructure, because the recyclers that are in place, they have a volume to process. And if there is not a constant volume of material coming to them, they will look for easier and cheaper ways to get the material. So they will go abroad and buy materials from other countries, which is a pity, because then it creates a completely affect the market balance and the price of the materials, and the cooperatives suffer with that, because they will get less money for the material that they are collecting. So it's all about economics, right, Gordana? It's not a social discussion, it's not only a technology discussion. Is about getting the price right, the definition of value right, and the attitudes and behavior right. So that's what circular economy is about.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. That's why it carries the name, the circular economy. It's all about economics, and it has to make an economic sense. We know that everything else that was supposed to happen, ought to happen. The ought economy didn't happen. If it ought to happen, it doesn't happen. It has to be a business benefit, no doubt about that, an economic benefit, of course. Also, in terms of reducing the environmental impact, we of course save in terms of taxpayers' money. You mentioned education and communication kind of in the same sentence. We have to educate consumers by communicating the benefits, communicating the value of materials and all that. But how about education in terms of, are universities shifting? For example, is Brazil educating new designers who will redesign products? Because this is what's crucial for us in the circular economy. Currently, nothing is designed for keeping it. So are universities going deeper? I know how hard it is to change universities. I worked during my time in Brussels on this. What's happening?
Well, in my opinion, a lot of the universities that have been working with waste valorization, design, new materials, all of this people working on this kind of research level, they are really picking up, the circular economy and embedding the discussion into their research plans. My reflection is whether we are actually changing the mindset, the way we are going to make our decision. And I think this requires a systemic view, a cultural change. Otherwise, we'll be always working in isolation. the people they are designing a packaging, they look for a new material, they're going to design the package, but they are not going to talk with the recyclers to see if the new design that they are doing, it's actually better or worse for the recycling perspective. People that are working on waste valorization or new technologies for treating waste materials, if they don't look at the full picture, they are just going to develop a technology that maybe will never go to the market because it's too difficult to implement in a bigger scale, or too expensive. They didn't calculate the business case. So I think the challenge we have with universities is to get them to break their barriers as well on their research community. We really needed to get more economists into the discussion, more logistics people, more infrastructure. Quite often we just see people, engineers and designers working on isolation. We are making a movement with the federal government to demonstrate to them the importance of having circular economy into the national curriculum, but with that view that this must go to all disciplines. It's not just an engineering discussion or a design discussion. It's actually, we need to get all this kind of cultural and economists at the same time kind of working together to understand the value of this new model.
I completely agree. Again, interdisciplinary, we have to invite so many, and of course you have a very rich history anthropologist. We can sometimes also learn from the past. We don't always need to reinvent the wheel, so we have to bring everybody at the table to understand it. And of course, I don't need to say that the complexity increases with that, because everybody has a different view on this, but that's the only way forward. Yes, I do think so.
Another point, I guess you should, I'm sure you are presented with this quite often as well. You go and talk to a company and they say, oh, it's too expensive, or it's not cost effective, it's not going to work. And then my speech now is, okay, our role is to make it work. So it's not about, oh, this doesn't work, it's not cost effective. Okay, how can we gather an interdisciplinary team to make this work? To make this a good price for all parts of the value chain. And that's why we need other people on board that can think broadly, that can open their minds and create, this new business cases.
Yeah, indeed. And we are not discussing enough the cost of not doing anything. I think that is not discussed enough, because we then, of course, have to compare the two cost factors. We are running over time. So one last question, Bea, what is your vision for Brazil? How would you imagine Brazil in, let's say, in another decade? You and I talk 10 years from now, and what will you tell me? What kind of Brazil are we in?
Oh, wow. Well, I think the circular economy brings an opportunity for us to have a new definition of value. Value for people, value for the society, value in the materials. I think we have an opportunity to qualify our jobs, have more qualified workers working on the sharing economy, the repairing economy, creating a new mindset to produce products that are more durable, improving experiences and the life cycle, the lifestyle, I meant, where we have, less waste, less pollution. So I think we need to get the business and the society and the government as a whole to see this circular world, these circular lifestyles with better products, better service, and a better environment around us. So I think the word is a new equilibrium that everybody can collaborate and can be moving forward together in a just and regenerative economy.
What does it say on your flag? Progresso, and what is the other word?
Okay. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah. New progress.
A new order. A new order for moving forward. Yeah, a new vision, a new order, a new value.
Yeah, for 220 million people, that is a very beautiful vision. If our audience wants to reach out to you, how can they do that? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, I guess on LinkedIn, I think we quite often have very nice discussions. We have the Instagram as well. Is circular economy in Portuguese, Economia Circular, BR. And also we have now the Institute, the Brazilian Circular Economy Institute, which is going to be now presenting a lot of new things to the market in the World Circular Economy Forum, creating so yeah, and I think we do need this new generation of leaders, right, Gordana? So well done for all the work that you also been doing, and I hope they inspire a little bit some of our audience.
Yes, we hope so too. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you. It's a pity I can't meet you in person in a few weeks' time in Brazil, but we will maybe do it next year or at another opportunity and maybe realize something together. Thank you so much for today, Bea.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Our audience, thank you for joining. This is the last series in this, the last webinar in this series, The Circular Economy, a Must for Business Leaders. I hope you enjoyed these 8 webinars that went around the world. We started in Australia and we are finishing again in the Southern Hemisphere in Brazil with this session. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for contributing. Thank you and all the best to you. Bye.